Hey everybody. Hi. So I think
Okay.
you join the live and then you press like go live with or something.
Hold on. Let me check it out.
Hey
Going.
everybody, we are just working on a couple of technical things here.
I don't know what to do. How do I take the sound off Instagram?
Oh, so you just joined. Okay, now maybe I can request you. Okay, here we go. Send
I just
request. So, okay. Did you get my request?
I did.
Okay, yay. Hi.
Hi.
Cool.
So
So
you're
we
on-
are live. I'm live on Instagram with Madeline, and she's live on her Facebook. So we're doing like two things right now. Um,
how do we do the sound problem? Because now I've got feedback
oh,
from
double sound.
Instagram.
Hmm. Good question, guys. We figured this out. I don't know. Um, I don't know.
Mm, Um, mm, hold on. Jeez, I don't know how people usually go live on Facebook and Instagram at the same
Yeah,
time.
I've seen people do it, but I don't know either. Maybe we just,
The sound down.
yeah, I'm like turn it down. I don't
Well,
know.
let's keep it down. Let's see if people still hear us. And you guys put in the chat comments, I mean, in the box if you can hear us.
I might have to put some headphones in
That could work.
for the Zoom thing.
That's a great idea.
Let's see. Hmm. I don't know. Maybe we'll just do Instagram later.
Good.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Hmm.
We just check. I don't know if it's gonna make a difference. But you can hear us on Instagram.
Let's see. This might work.
Hold on. For you.
No. Wait. Oh, I gotta change my sound.
Here we go.
Okay. How's that?
Perfect.
So I'm hearing my voice through your thing. I think we're gonna have to just do the Facebook Live and then I'll figure out the Instagram thing
Sorry.
later.
Sorry, Instagram. We'll come back later.
Ah. We'll be back.
Until we figure out how that's all right.
All right.
Instagram closed. Facebook open. Now I can actually probably watch the comments on my page.
All right. How's this? We'll just do Facebook.
The Facebook. We'll figure out the
Yeah.
Instagram bit.
Yeah.
We could always post the video there. Okay, there we go. I see myself here.
Oh yeah. We could always just post it. Cool.
Sound, sound. Geez, this tech stuff is hard.
Yeah. I
Hey,
know.
Manuel. Emanuela and Andy is here. Hey, Andy. I bumped into Andy at the coffee stop today.
Oh, nice.
He's in.
So yeah, you are coming in from. Are you in Johannesburg?
No, I'm from Cape Town.
Oh, Cape Town. I don't know why I always thought that you were from Johannesburg.
Johannesburg.
I don't know.
That's
And I'm
good.
in Nashville.
Yeah, Katie's in Nashville, Tennessee.
Hi.
You moved there just recently.
Yeah, just moved back. I was here a couple years ago. I moved here from New York the first time, and then back to New York, and now back in Nashville. Just because of COVID times, New York just wasn't happening anymore.
Yeah, COVID has been interesting.
Yes.
Well, okay, so I thought we'd start with intros, obviously, and uh, I'm gonna do you first, and then I'll say who I am, and then
Okay.
and then we can get into how we met.
Story.
My favorite story.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna let you tell it because I always like to hear how people find me. So
Yeah, well, um, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. I found you on Instagram. I was, I follow a lot of accounts, like sort of like
yeah,
self-help or like, um, you know, psychology accounts or it was John Wineland's account that
yeah, it was
he left
talking
this
about the
comment.
feminine and the masculine.
Right, yes, which I was already sort of, interested in exploring and yeah, you left this comment, this really cheeky comment on someone's post, and I was like, "Who is this woman? I need to like check out her page." And then I went to your page and I discovered the most amazing post about your journey as a mother. And it was this poem slash just pure like expression of truth that I was like, oh, this woman is 10 years like down the line from my life and has lived this thing that I'm currently experiencing, which was um, the reality of being um, in a situation as a mother in a relationship that was unhealthy or just it felt like not the thing that I had signed up for or that I didn't know that I had gotten myself into. I knew I was in a bad situation and I mean I was moved to tears and I
Really?
liked like 15 of your posts and I was like, oh my gosh, this woman is amazing. And then I was like, I need to work with her and I didn't know how I was going to make it happen because I was in the middle of I knew my relationship was ending and I was in New York and I had just everything in my life prior to that year had like everything I had attempted to accomplish with my career um, had just disintegrated essentially and so I was basically in a rock bottom place
Mm.
um, and I reached out to you and then the next 6 months were like the most amazing healing wild ride of a journey that I have ever been on. So yeah.
It it was amazing, amazing. I relished every moment. Well, I relished every moment of it. So from my side, that was very interesting how I remember the day I was sitting in bed naked, because that's how I roll. I was just, what do you feel like doing? You need to go work? Nah, not right now. And then of course I came across that John Wayland's post, and there was a particular woman in there who whose comment I was like, okay, let me respond to that because I usually don't respond on other people's feeds, but I just had this intuitive hit to do that, right? And it was because what she was describing was something that I could see immediately. I knew exactly by, how people say things, but they don't say it. If you read
Mm-hmm.
between the lines, that's what I do. I read between the lines and then I nail it. And when she responded, she was like, wow, how did you know that? And I'm like, well, you told me through what you were not saying, through what you were writing. That's how people fish. They fish for information, and you can tell by the way that they fish information that they're looking for their answers. And so I responded to that, and that's obviously what you must have been reading. And it was so lovely to get your message in my Instagram inbox saying, "How can I work with you?" I was just, my mind was blown. It was like I gained a client in less than 10 minutes because that's all it took.
Yeah, you were just being you,
Yeah.
commenting the way you do, checking people in the comment section, being like, I see you, and yeah, I was drawn to you. Yeah.
So that was one of my favorite ways of, and that's how this is what intuition is, right? This is the masculine polarity of the universe. Like he drops you insights, he'll drop you a prompt, a push, and those prompts really get dumbed down by our doubt.
Hmm.
And that's how we reach rock bottom. You like we'll explore the lyrics of your song later, but the valley, right?
Yes.
Where the
Yes.
sunlight, there's no truth there. There's nothing that you can see down in the valley, which is amazing. And um, I think my point is really that when we don't follow our natural intuition, our prompts, our inspiration, right? That's where our creativity comes from. And every single human being on this planet has a channel for creativity. It's your unique value expression. We call them values, but they're not really values. They're just your blueprint. Let's call it a blueprint.
Right.
You're coded. And then when you start doubting your gifts, everything else around you and your circumstances matters more than what you really, really desire, really, you know,
Hmm.
is bursting to come through, right?
Yeah, I
So,
love this conversation around matter, and that's one of the things I love about you so much is you are such an amazing wizard with words and language, and you've opened up. I mean, as a writer, that's it's an incredible tool to be able to look at language and see how words can have these meanings and the word matter. And I'm still obsessed with this concept,
you
and I
do.
want to write something about it about
I hope you do.
matter as like a thing that exists in time and space and how that connects to the word mother, mater, the root of
Oh,
that word, and how mothers are these vessels for
oh,
materializing. And also, like, what matters, that way of talking about the word. And anyway, you are brilliant in that way. And
the manifestation.
right, right. Yeah,
So let's co-create something.
let's do it.
Right, okay, cool. Next song.
Next. Cool.
We can work it in the background. Okay, cool. So yeah, that is my favorite story of like whatever. And yeah, okay. So I had something else. Let's say who's joined us. We've got 4 viewers so far. Hey, Kristen, how are you
I
doing, darling?
tried to
Kristen.
send, I was wanting to share this video, so I'm going to share it on my page if I can while we're going live. That way people can kind of join live. Share.
So
Here now.
yeah, that is my favorite story. There's a 20-second lag between the Zoom and Facebook. So what
Okay,
happened?
cool. Oh,
No
between
chance
comments.
meetings. Andy says no chance meetings. I ran into him in the coffee store today. So he says no chance meetings, no such thing as coincidence. Only synchronicities, right?
Right, right, totally. I feel that way about us, for sure.
That was like no coincidence. This is
I'm gonna I'm gonna
you
share
light up
your
on the
post that drew me in because it's so beautiful and it deserves to be
I'll
heard. And
share it again on my Facebook page. I think I'll share that one again. I think it's time, and then
yeah,
people will know what we're talking about.
yeah,
Because that particular poem, like I was sitting in the coffee store and it just downloaded in 10 minutes. The every line flowed into the next line. And when I typed it out, I had to make no adjustments to it. I really had no, I needed to make maybe a couple minor adjustments, but that's what happens when your your channel is open, right? You clear your mind, and that's really what the bulk of our work is.
yeah,
Um, so maybe that's a great segue into going into one of the points that I wanted to chat about was the kind of work that I do with clients and the kind of work because what you thought you were getting and what it actually was. That's actually an interesting question to ask you. Is
yeah,
what did you think you were getting into? Because you really had no idea what you were getting into. You had no idea. You just like, I don't know what she's offering, but this sounds good. Reading her posts, let me just like give her the money without even knowing me. Because a lot of the time, coaches they create a lot of content to try and get their clients to become familiar with them or comfortable with them, and my style is really not like that at all. It's quite the opposite. It's like, this is how it is. If
yeah.
you're in, you're in. You got to have skin in the game. Let's go. Let's
Yeah, that's
dance.
concept of skin in the game. I mean, I had so much shadow going on, and I was in such a state of like self-doubt, and I had I mean, I really was at the point where I wasn't creating, I was miserable, I was so unhappy, and I just knew that whatever you had going on, like I wanted to get to that place where I could express in that way, and yeah, it was really scary because you were like pretty from the get go, like pretty hardcore. Like you were like, this is this is the threshold. I'm the gatekeeper. Like you can't, these are my standards, and that's a
Yeah.
concept that had never really been introduced to me. Like the concept of having standards and how those standards are the foundation for um, how you interact with the world around you and what you're willing to tolerate and, what you're not willing to tolerate. And I grew up in a home where there was a lot of, codependency and, it's just a pattern in my family. I think it's a pattern for a lot of people. And I had learned at an early age, like how to modulate myself so that I could avoid conflict or I could just kind of be a people pleaser. And I had always thought of myself as like this peacemaker, and I'm
So
here to
it's some
heal
sort
the
of like,
world.
yeah, the good girl complex, good girl, good boy complex. Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. And it had done nothing for me. I mean, I really had the best of intentions my whole life to try to, yeah, just like be this good person. And it really got me into some really sticky situations that, because I had no boundaries and no standards, like I just wasn't operating um, according to my truth. And like I also was just not creating. I had blocked myself completely because I didn't know what I thought. I didn't know what I believed because I was absorbing everybody else's
Yeah.
beliefs and
What we were
ideologies
doing, we're making the wrong things. What?
matter. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the play on the words is that nothing really matters.
And it's so liberating because when you think that, it's like it's a really hard concept to like come to terms with. Like nothing matters because it can be sort of nihilistic, but it's actually playful and fun because when you just realize that we have the power to, in our minds to make what matters, we can decide what matters. And when you get to the place where you're like, it doesn't matter, then you don't feel personally victimized and you don't feel like you have a responsibility to like rescue or save anybody. And then life becomes this really fun, playful game.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that people struggle with in relationship, when it comes to relationship mentoring or whatever it is the fact that like uh, you're not going to have any emotions, or you, the you you're basically saying that I don't matter in the relationship or my partner doesn't matter in the relationship, and that's not true. Because what tends to happen then is when we stop being codependent on each other and expecting the other person to be something for us, right? Like you experienced with your husband, or what you expected from him and he expected from you, really caretaking each other. And at the end of the day, like you said, it like cuts you off at the legs. And everything that you are as an individual becomes about them first, me last.
Yeah.
Can't create. What was my point? It was more about, oh, advocation, really. The relationship becomes no longer about needing to hold space for somebody to heal or whatever it is, that is so important. Yes, that can happen, but the responsibility then is taken back. It becomes an ownership. You're responsible for that healing. Healing. I don't know how I feel about that word yet, but
Yeah.
it's let's call it healing.
Well, one of the big things that was kind of like a mind blowing concept for me that I learned from you is like love sometimes doesn't always look like, okay, like let me coddle this behavior that's really not okay and I'm gonna just show kindness. Yeah, I mean kindness for sure, but sometimes kindness looks like having firm boundaries and like, not picking someone, not enabling somebody when they're in shadow, but putting that boundary there and saying I have standards about how I'm going to be treated, and just um, not letting your shadow trigger their shadow, and then just going in this round and round and round thing, like
Um,
going within, having your own, you know, threshold and your boundary. I think it can be the strongest form of love in some cases when you're in these tricky partnerships or
Absolutely.
relationships.
Deepest pains can be our greatest teachers, right? And the whole thing about shadow work is it's not a bypass. If you really want to heal, you really want to become whole, right? Like the inner child is there, like the concept of the inner child is frozen emotionally in time, in a state of trauma that it can't resolve. And then that child is the thing that, as a grown up, we're giving somebody else to caretake for us, like we're giving our heart away, right? But
Mm-hmm.
actually, that's you. You've just given a part of yourself away to somebody else that you're responsible for. Or, in mental, emotional, and spiritual development, you are the master of, right? And that's the concept of you are source. You
Yeah.
are the source of your power. Source is also another word I love playing on, right?
Yeah, source and resource. You always talk about that, which I love. Yeah.
Source is your source to create through. It streams through you. It's your resource to what you're creating. And that's another thing about relationships is that instead of it becoming getting into a relationship of what you think another person is going to do for you, what ends up happening is the conversation doesn't become about fixing or problems to solve all the wrong things that matter so much, taking up space and time in our mind, in our psyche. It becomes about what can we create now
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to clear that space for that clarity in your relationships. And if you're not taking anything personally from what another person can do, it doesn't matter what they say, think, do, or don't do. You are still the source. You're standing in your foundation.
Right.
And then that's the concept of freedom and love, which I like to play with.
Yeah. So many things. Taking ownership was something that I just had never practiced doing because I felt justified in my sense of like blaming my situation, or like, a big thing that launched, like I was sort of teetering on the edge in my psyche already when my dad passed away, but when that happened it really kind of like pushed me into a place of like, this happened to me and I feel so victimized by this, and it happened in this moment in my career where I was on Broadway, and it felt like a sick joke that I was at the height of my dreams and achievements, and then this personal thing happened to me that felt like it ripped everything away, and then I went into this state of grief, and it was so hard to be in a state where I was so full of emotion but couldn't channel it and make anything really beautiful from it, and I was in that place for a really long time, and that, then I got pregnant, and then I just stayed in a relationship, because I was so disempowered, and taking ownership of that for myself was strong, was like a big moment for me too, to just be like, listen, like stuff happens in life, and we can
Mm-hmm.
blame everybody else, and we can let it
Right.
completely disempower us, or we can just take ownership for the way that we respond, and know that we have the power to, um, to just be okay and pick ourselves up at the end of the day and actually see the gift of the challenges. You talk about this concept of eustress, which I love, and you use this metaphor about how muscles need to get ripped and torn in order to grow and build up, and it's like that, in life too. Like, you know, the hard stuff can actually be the greatest gifts.
Mm. And then they become easy, right? They become pleasure.
Yeah,
And that's the concept of imbuing pleasure into conscious womanhood, living in love, because truth is synonymous with love. And like you said earlier, it doesn't always feel good, especially when you have a lot of shadow content that you're working through to get
yeah,
through.
yeah,
So, which would be things like your everything that you feel traumatized you growing up, or you know, in what do you call it in a relation in growing up theory? What is it called? Oh, oh, attachment theory.
oh yeah, yeah. That's
And
some
your
really
style.
styles, right? I'm
Yeah,
needy, anxious, needy, right here, maybe.
actually. recovering, recovered
Right,
anxious needing.
right,
And so your attachment style, like that's content. It's a particular way in which you're unconsciously use your patterns to pad you from connection and intimacy.
right,
Although it looks like you're trying to connect, right? That's the fucking conundrum about shadow is this deep inner seed and need to connect intimately with another person. But the apprehension of that happening comes in the form of past hurts, past betrayals, right? Victim consciousness. We're seeing it through the lens of what other people did to us.
right.
We're not in control. So,
Yeah, and the sad thing is, like, the more that you are seeking to connect, the less magnetic you are, and then you just repel, and then there's no, then you're like, you're so far down, and yeah, I mean, being in that
oh, it's
place
massive.
sucks. It sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, like when we started working together, like the person you are now is just, I know I've always seen that person, right? I, but what I see is just a chipping away of the shadow, like that out the way, that out the way. Ah, there you are. Yeah, more of that, more of that, more of that.
Yeah,
And
you always say it's not about becoming a new person, it's just about becoming who you really are. And that has been true for me. I feel like so many ways throughout this journey with you, like it has been about just like remembering, oh yeah, like this is who I am. Even as a child, like I had all of these, because you see children and they are pure, and so yeah, it's just been a fun journey of kind of like getting more in touch with my playful nature, which I feel like I was such a serious child because I felt like I always had to be responsible for what was going on around me, or like, I just felt like I was really, um, I couldn't play because it was not safe to do that. And so now it's like, oh yeah, like life is a game and it's fun. And even in spite of everything that's going on, I mean, I've had more progress in this year of the pandemic personally. And I'm so grateful. It's crazy. We started working together in November, and then everything hit in March, and I was like, I can't imagine what I would be experiencing. And I really feel for a lot of people because this pandemic has really triggered, it's really shown like who's got the resiliency to push through and who is really struggling right now. And I really feel for those people, and I've been there. So I'm just grateful that you and I started working together before this happened because there's no
nice.
telling where I would be. Yeah.
This is the benefit of like what I call Navy SEALs conscious mastery in, well, you as an individual and relationships, because if you don't have a specific way of dealing with your stresses and triggers and how you relate to them, right, then you're fucked.
Right.
Which is nothing wrong with that, because that's also part of the awakening process.
Yeah.
Finding it's like a catalytic initiation into waking up. It's horrid if you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and you talk about this concept of God eyes, which I really like, and that's sort of about that. It's like being able to even see like the scary moments as like part of the catalyst for awakening, and yeah, the second that you can clear the victim and empower your warrior. We talk about archetypes a lot, and we're all, you and I, we love Carl Jung and his
Yes.
concept of archetypes and archetypal psychology, and it's been really profound for me, and it's been one of the things that has really, um,
Yeah.
yeah, I knew I needed tools. I never knew like I was like, I need real tools, and I'd done all the talk therapy, and I'd read all the self-help books and the yoga and the meditation, and it was like the tools that you've given me. It's like you talk about it being quantum growth versus incremental growth, and I just really feel like the tools that you share, you can like bypass all that stuff and just know that in your mind, if you can
Yeah.
use
I don't
these.
know when last I've meditated. I don't need to.
Yeah,
I don't meditate.
it's really weird to find myself in this place where like I don't have these mood swings that are like every few days. I don't know when I'm gonna just sink into the depths of despair and I can't get myself out and the world is my enemy, and like to go now long stretches of time. I mean, it happens occasionally still, but again, I have the tool and I know what to do to get
You
myself
know what
out of that
happened?
place.
and you know what's happening when when it happens, and then you're like, oh, cool, this is an opportunity. The
Hmm.
way you even engage it changes.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
And
that's
that's
perfect.
really what this song is about.
Mhm.
It's about clearing the space to have a new thought, when when you get into this at the bottom of the canyon, when you're in this place of shadow. Yeah.
Yeah. So before I go into this song, I want to play the lyrics, right? Because we words, I love this.
Yeah, let's do it.
To decipher it as part of the fun. I don't know if we should or shouldn't let people decide for themselves, but I want to hear your thoughts on a couple of things. Just to circle back to what you were saying earlier about where children, you know, who play use a lot of their imagination. And it's not like they're using their imagination, it's really that they're streaming something. And it's funny because like I remember being a kid and I had a lot of freedom, right? Um uh and what happened was the amount of self-belief that I had in my ability to do anything. And I
Right.
would get it, I would nail it, getting it right, like anything, climbing a wall, diving off. I'm advocating for kids to go and dive off stuff into the pool, but like we would imagine something and then we do it.
Oh yeah.
No apprehension.
I used to sit at my keyboard when I was visiting my dad in the summer, and I mean, I would, like, you talk about having downloads. I mean, I would just write, and I would share, and I was singing so freely, and I had no self-doubt whatsoever. Like, I was convinced that I was going to be Taylor Swift. Like, I felt like I could dream that big, and then something happened along the way where I started to doubt. I don't know if it was when I got to college, which sometimes I think can kind of, or you just see that there's other people out there. You
Yeah.
start to analyze. You get this critical thought, and again, I think that's part of the full journey of, like, not having the rules, being purely an intuition, learning the rules, and going through this hero's journey of self doubt, and then coming back around. So, like, it's all part
Mhm.
of it, but getting to that back to that childhood place is so fun. Yeah.
There are studies that are done where, they compare kids to Harvard graduates.
Interesting.
The kids can actually like solve problems a lot faster than them because what they've got there is you know, um, they tend to acquire a lot of knowledge. They're learned, right?
Hmm.
And that can get in the way. It's like we're making things matter. We're holding content in
Hmm.
our psyche now. And when you're holding
Yeah.
content, you can't really clear space to let that inspiration, that natural inspiration. But when you daydream, I think who was it? Was it Einstein who used to go for leisurely walks and clear his mind, and he'd solve problems in a moment.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
moments
You
of
you
trying
see
to,
that with
yeah.
a lot of famous creators, is they would do that. You get into a flow state, and oftentimes you can't get there if you're just focused too much on the facts and the figures. You've got to kind of, like, it's about clearing space and letting there be a clear channel, and that's when you get those drops of intuition, and
Making some room.
making some room, baby. That's what I'm saying.
Let me say it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see. There was a last question here that I wanted to ask you before we get into the lyrics and some music playing.
Yes.
I wanted to know. I wanted to know what was your favorite moments of the journey together, and what were your the parts where you were like, this is getting hard. I think I changed my mind.
Yeah, you've pissed me off a couple times. Like, I've had moments where I really felt like I couldn't take
It's
I mean, it's truth. You were sharing truth with me, but that's what I signed up for. I knew that I needed somebody who was going to hold me accountable, because I had gone back on my word so many times, and I'd abandoned myself so many times, and I was I wasn't able to make the changes that I knew that I needed to make, and I knew that my life was going to just continue to unravel and unravel, and
what
I
was so cool about that, Katie, was like even though in those moments you still texted me.
yeah, yeah,
Right?
I did.
You still texted me.
Well, I knew that you would have. Well, the beautiful thing about your coaching style is, I mean, you make yourself available, and we have a time difference, but I mean, the way that you commit to your clients and you're there 24/7. I mean, and I think people who are having like mental breakdowns, or not that I was there, but like moments of real hard challenge where you're trying to set a boundary. I mean, for me, that was the first thing. You told me that I needed to create a container that was impenetrable at first, because I needed to be able to trust myself enough to really do that. And that was the biggest challenge, was like I knew I needed to make these changes and have these boundaries, and in all my relationships, because I needed to know what I felt and believed, and so yeah, that was the first thing.
That was so
But
amazing to
and
watch.
we've had, and then we had a couple really amazing breakthrough moments where it was just like I just had I started to trust myself more, and it wasn't that I was relying on you, but you were just empowering me to know that I knew what I knew what I knew, and I didn't
Yeah,
need to.
there's a way to do it. Like I'm there, but I'm not giving you anything.
Yeah,
I'm like, nah, this is you. This is you. I'm like kind
yeah,
of like slapping away your attachments. Like, where's my tennis racket?
yeah, yeah, and I needed that. I really did.
Yeah.
And then you always encouraged me. What it came down to was, ultimately, it's about creation. And as an artist, I mean, that was my biggest goal. Yes, I was a mother, and then I was a single mother, and I had to, I mean, I was at a point where I didn't even know, I had no job. I, I needed to create enough money in order to get my son in childcare, and afford my New York apartment on my own. And I was paying you, which I also didn't know how I was going to do, but I knew I needed to figure it out. And you talk about the warrior being this archetype where you just gather your resources, and I had never, and that's also connected to like your inner masculine energy, and I just hadn't ever employed that. I never was able to like, I didn't even know how to like research daycares and how do I do this? I felt so overwhelmed by the amount of responsibility that I had.
Yeah, that's child archetype as well. I mean, child and victim is it's like,
Yeah.
can somebody do it for me?
Can somebody do this for me? Can somebody come and save me from this situation I've gotten myself in? I really need, I can't do this on my own. And while I do have a lot of support, it was important that I wasn't afraid to ask for the $2
Exactly.
extra an hour. I wasn't afraid to, um, you know, just reach out to every daycare that I could find, and, just put the time and the effort and the energy in. And when you have a young child, it's like one of my biggest shadows was that I just don't have time. This is too hard. I don't have the time to do this because I have to take care of my son, and there's all this, you know, you have limited time. You're really limited to nap times and when they go to bed. And when they go to bed, you're tired. So, I just had all these programs running in my mind about you. You would tell me all the time, like I'd be like, I'm so tired, and you're like, no, sorry, tired is just a shadow. Like
Yeah.
when you're operating, from your light, nothing's exhausting. Exhaustion was a shadow that I was using. Yeah, yeah.
It does. I mean, like when we face the hard things, right? Because this is how you know you're not bypassing. Because when you do look at your shadow, and you do look at what's limiting you in your power, it's trapped power. It's trapped. You can't release it into something different, which is the experience you want to experience, until you look at it. And this is why this kind of work is not bypassing at all. I mean, you go down deep into the valley first, and it feels like shit sometimes to see a truth. It feels like you're drinking a poisonous potion of some sort, because the truth can actually disrupt you. And that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to disrupt an awakening. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was the other thing you told me too. And I made a point about creation earlier, and then I got distracted. But ultimately, that's what I wanted to get to, a place where I was earning money with my art. I was creating and expressing myself and being truthful. And yeah, you just have all these great points about how, I think a lot of artists are afraid to be radical with their truth because they don't want to upset people. But you were like, we talk about this concept of polarity, and it's like you're never going to please everybody. You're going to have your super fans, and you're going to have your people who are kind of middle of the road, and then you're going to have people that are really like not into you, or they're really actually they dislike you to a degree. And I think I had to come to terms with the fact that if I was ever going to be honest about my life, or what was happening in my life, or the songs that I was wanting to write, like I was gonna have to be okay with being disliked, and that was hard for me because I had spent my entire life trying to be likable, and so yeah, that's just another one of my favorite,
Thing. What
teachings.
was the concept? It was your autonomous expression will, because we're always trying to be of service to people. And I'm like, you don't have to worry about that because your natural autonomous expression, your true, you being in your true nature.
Has the greatest impact more than any other kind of thing that you would be doing of like I'm serving people, or I'm really going out and helping, and I'm writing music as a form of healing the world. It's like actually when you're in your joy and you're doing it because it's pleasurable to you to do that, in and of itself has the greatest impact. Yeah.
Because we could be of service from shadow.
Yeah, in order to feel useful, which is what I had been doing. Yeah, in all my relationships. Yeah.
And in the shadow, it's heavy and everything feels like a struggle. You should not be creating in struggle. It should be easy, right? Like the concept of the starving artist or the starving coach or the starving whatever.
Yeah.
No, just no.
Yeah. Yeah, I had been in
Just no.
that mind frame for a while. I mean, I had romanticized, being in LA with my car that had no, AC, and like,
Yeah.
the windows wouldn't roll down, and I was like this, vagrant musician who was just getting by on a women of prayer, and it's like, yeah, that only got me so far, and it wasn't that great. So,
So, okay, cool. So let's what do you want to do now? Do you want to tell us, shall we play with the song lyrics?
yeah,
Um
let's do it. Let's do
woo!
it.
This
I
is
want to break it down.
so this song, like I was so lucky because Katie had sent this to me like pre-release. I
This is
feel
all
like
for that.
I've got backstage pass to the best of the best of how things unfold, and it's just this great part of, seeing creation in progress. Um, so you want to read the first line?
Yeah, totally.
Tell me
Um,
about 2 lines.
I guess I mean I don't need to look it up. Yeah. So daylight falls into the canyon and it fills my eyes. I
Okay,
drove all night,
yeah,
burned a lot of road to watch the phoenix rise.
brilliant. I love this. This is amazing. So daylight falls into the canyon and fills my eyes. Tell me about the canyon.
Yeah, when I was writing it, I was writing with my friend Cheyenne, here in Nashville, and that word daylight just came out, and then this whole kind of metaphor about it feels like a desert landscape, and you have so many great points about what that means. But the canyon is really, yeah, it's rock bottom essentially. It's the bottom, the lowest of the low, you know. And this light that's coming in is like, I think some you were saying there's no truth in the canyon, but sometimes I feel like the very bottom is the moment that the truth, you're able to see the truth because you can't blame anybody else at that point, you know.
So the illusion is being dispelled by the light.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And then this whole idea of phoenix, is just the death of the old self and the birth of the new. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty self explanatory. Yeah.
see the ashes in the wind, the end and the beginning hum and harmonize. Now that line to me just gives me like gooseskins because what's happening in my mind here is burned a lot of road. You've been searching for a really long time and you're waiting for your chance to rise is the
Yeah.
phoenix, right? Like, and then the ashes of what? What did that mean? I see the ashes in the wind. Is that your past?
Yeah, I think, sure, the ashes of the old self, maybe, the remnants that, are you know, you talk about this thing about the meteor and how the way
Yeah.
this work is, it's like, you know, the tail end sometimes it's our shadows are sneaky and they rely on us in order to survive. And so, yeah, I think the ashes is a similar concept, the tail end of the meteor that kind of um,
With
sticks
a
around.
big shadow. And then when that's over and you're trying to get rid of that in your life, then the media has a tail.
Right.
And then the fallout of what you've been dealing with for a long time, once you actually starve off the drama,
The drama.
the consequences of that in your life start to just wither away, which is
Right.
the concept of,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the
So
end
I
of the
love that.
beginning, I think, is just this concept that, you know, time is this sort of spiral, and when something ends, the death of something is really the beginning of something new. And I felt like that when my dad passed away. I mean, my son was born shortly thereafter, and that felt like just a beautiful illustration of that concept. And yeah, and again, it's about making room. So something has to, you know, the way I'm so inspired by nature, and it's the seasons and the way that it works, the way that our this paradigm of life that of creation that we're all living within. This is the cycle that we go through. This um, you know, birth, death, rebirth cycle is really profound. Yeah, and tapping into that. Yeah,
I love that. And like, yeah, another layer that I see here is the end and the beginning come and harmonize. So the end of the old patterns and how you used to see things are humming, right? The like the truth rent
the
is
vibration.
vibration. And when you harmonize, it totally shatters the old shadow.
Yeah,
Like,
I love that.
totally, totally obliterate it.
Yeah,
That to me is also just another gorgeous aspect that just happened to be in you. I don't know. It was just you created it. It's amazing. So centuries of sand. When I originally heard it in the song, I thought it said centuries of sin
oh, interesting.
slipping. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So slipping through my hands as the river cries.
Yeah.
And God, leaving it all behind, letting my mind go somewhere new, letting the old things die, taking some time, making some room.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Tell me about the second verse here.
It was easy to keep myself inside an ancient memory. I mean, this is really about, I think, familial patterns,
Yeah.
and this idea that, I mean, the women in my family, you know, like, um, I think that there's just, I took this course one time that talked about the mother line. And yeah, I think that despite seeing it all happen growing up and then knowing, like, okay, I want to do something different, or I really want to make sure that the you know the relationships that I get into are better, or you know that I'm never gonna get divorced, or you know I'm not ever gonna repeat these patterns. And I did I did unconsciously, despite having the best of intentions. And so I think that's the idea of the ancient memory, is just like these unconscious, you know, generational things that kind of get passed down, and it's nobody's fault. It's just conditioning. Yeah. And to memory, had my reasons, but lying to myself just brought me misery. And it's like,
Right?
this is
Shadow
about,
bond.
yeah,
I had reasons
justifying it. Yeah, reasons. Like,
to go.
exactly. That's exactly where that was coming from. And yeah, wasted days in bed, stuck inside my head, without a remedy. I mean, that was me. I mean, there was an entire spring in New York City that I just didn't, I don't think I saw a blooming tree. I wasn't aware that that was happening around me, because I was in such a grief state and so caught up in my drama, the drama that was happening in my own life. And yeah, and then I don't know what led me to this desert painted red with possibility. Again, that's kind of your rock bottom moment where you see that, like, hey, this can't continue. Like, there's a whole world out there happening around me, and I don't want to be disconnected from it. Um, Yeah.
Right, and seeing with new eyes now as well. I mean, the desert is very symbolic for going into solitude to I don't know, to just
Yeah,
it's
just
a
only
state of
have
contemplation
your own thoughts. Yeah.
and to decide. Like, I mean, there are myths like Jesus going into the desert and not being tempted,
Yeah.
um, and staying true to whatever it is that he was true to,
Yeah.
and then the
Yeah.
possibility for you, which is really like limitlessness. You
Yeah.
decide what you create.
Exactly. And the connection between the content of your mind and one of the things that you taught me too is that when we allow the outer world to dictate our internal state, we're going to be, we're going to be at the mercy of what's going on around us, and chaos is happening around, and it's like if we allow that to, matter, then we're going to be pulled every which way. And I think the thing that you were trying to impart is that when you have an internal state that is unshakable and that you can always return to, um, then that's where you create the beauty around you, and you can make matter and manifest, the life that you want. And yeah, that was a big turning point for me too. Like, oh yeah,
You're the
I can
source.
control what I'm thinking and feeling, and I don't have to react or be triggered by everything somebody says or thinks about me. Not caring what people think. I mean, it's an easy thing to say. It's a very difficult thing to put into practice, especially because we live in a world where validation is just something that we're all.
Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you did this to me,
yeah.
and then
Hmm.
we hang on to it like it's going to change something.
Right, right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
And
love.
then we go to the bridge, which is essentially just a vocal texture of the harmony happening and flying, and that's just symbolizing the phoenix again, just
And
rising. And
quantum flight. And quantum flight.
yes, and quantum flight. That's it. Yeah. So, and that was just a really in the writing process. It was like we should have a bridge here, and that's just what kind of came out. And yeah, I mean, I like bridges in songs, and I've written, I like to write them. I think they're a fun challenge. And I've written several, throughout the years that I feel like really, bring new information or musically do something really cool. But this one, I just really felt like I had said what needed to be said, and I just wanted to experience the flight. Yeah,
Oh my God, I love that. That is insane.
yeah.
And that's really what truth is. Truth says what it says, and that's it.
Yeah, and this was a moment of really just like existing within the joy and not having to analyze or do anything further, like just be, just
You're
be in it.
making my skin crawl in a good way. Giving me
Yeah.
the goose chills. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that. Okay, cool. So, I love that song so much. It's
Yeah, well, it's wild because I wrote it before I ever met you, and it was sort of premonitory in that sense. Like, this is, before I had moved back to New York, and I knew that things were bad, and I needed to kind of like, I needed to make some changes, and I just didn't know how it was going to happen. And so it's really, again, just a beautiful way of how it all unfolded. You know, uh, Having this time of the release like happening at this time too, where we're all in isolation, and it's now in alignment with a time in my life where I can really say freely that like I've crossed a threshold, and I feel like the work that I've done for the first time really feels like it's made a big impact in my life. And I feel like there was a time where I would have never been comfortable like getting on a live on the internet and like talking about my life. Like I would that would have horrified me.
yeah. What do
I
people
didn't
think?
know. Yeah, what will people think? Oh my God, I'm gonna have so many people are gonna judge me, and I'm gonna be like, who am I to even be talking and expressing myself? And now it's like, I know that I can do this from a place of truth and real love, for
You
myself and
think your reactions. And like Katie, like the world is your oyster already. I mean, you've got everything you need to go as far and as big as you like. We're missing a couple of comments here. Let's read some of these.
oh yeah, I can't see them, so you'll have to read them to me.
Hold on. So I'm starting from the bottom. Taylor Smith is watching with you. Hey, Taylor. Andy Lund says, oh, he's quoting you. He says, burned a lot of road to watch the Phoenix rise. Incredible lyrics, ma'am. Such a
Mm,
beautiful song. So honest and moving. Wow. Feeling it, he says.
thank you.
And then Ryan Joff is with us. And Michelle says, yes, we learn concept experiences of limitation that children don't have, right, as adults, speaking to that point.
Yeah.
And she's resonated. She's saying that same happened to me in my senior year in college. Can't remember what that was referring to. Got to pay more attention to that. Yeah. Oh, Michelle Rule, Eric Menz.
Yes.
Love you, Katie.
Hi, Michelle.
Uh, mm, uh, she said, Patty Coons says, hi, Katie girl, I love you.
Hi.
All your fans.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Uh, what else? What else? Pretty much linguistics so powerful.
Hmm.
And I read that one already. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So anyway, Ryan Joff says, beautiful song, beautiful lyrics. My beautiful girl, I love you. Mom.
Oh, that's my mom.
Hey, mom. Robin. Oh, I called her Ryan.
Oh.
Sorry, mom. Sorry, mom. And hi. So are you going to play for us?
Yeah, I will. I will play the song. Let me turn my fan off so that I don't have the.
Okay.
I'm in the attic, sort of, so it's a little warm up here. I'll be right back. All right. Oh, this is so fun. This was really fun.
I love this. Why am I not doing this every day?
I know. Well, now that we know, we've crossed the fear of figuring out the technical side of it. So now we know how to do this. So
10 minutes trying to
we should
figure it out.
a podcast. All right, cool. Well, now that we've analyzed the words, talked about some truthful stuff, yeah, you guys should check out Madeline's Instagram. It's full of wisdom, and she's just a brilliant writer and an amazing coach, and um, has a has had a major impact on my life, and I'm just so grateful for her work. And yeah, look her up. Look her up, follow her, work with her. She's got a cool Facebook page that we kind of talk about. It's a group, yeah, the High Game of Lovers, and we talk about all this stuff in there. So if you're into this kind of thing, check it out. All right, here we go. Daylight falls into the canyon and it fills my eyes. I drove all night, burned a lot of road to watch the Phoenix rise. See the ashes in the wind, the end and the beginning, harmonize. Centuries of sand slipping through my hand as the river cries. I'm leaving it all behind, letting my mind go somewhere new, letting the old things die. lays in bed, stuck inside my head without a remedy. I don't know what led me to this desert painted red with possibility. But I'm leaving it all behind, letting my mind go somewhere new, letting the old things die, taking some time making some fly, 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 I'm leaving it all behind, letting my mind go somewhere new, letting the old things die, taking some time making some room. Yeah, leaving it all behind, letting my mind go somewhere new, letting the old things die, taking some time making some.
You. Hey, cutie.
Say hi.
Hey, buddy.
They just got back from
Oh,
popsicles. Good timing coming in. Hi.
how is sausage doing?
It's good. We're good.
Hi. Hi,
Baby.
cutie.
Hi. Well, thank you, Madeline, so much. This was super fun. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for everything. And it was my great honor to,
Yeah.
do this with you.
Yeah. Likewise.
Cool.
Let's do it again.
Yeah,
Sometime soon. Next time. Let's write something.
anytime. Anytime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hope you have a
Awesome.
great day.
Well,
Thanks,
thank you
everybody, for
everybody
joining
tuning
us.
in. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, check out the song. It's on YouTube. It's on all the
Yeah,
places.
so
Spotify, iTunes, Tidal. Yeah,
Spotify, iTunes, and you're going to have a Patreon up soon.
yeah, that's the plan. So keep an eye out for that. And
Of course.
then yeah, hopefully another another release before the end of the year and an album forthcoming. So yeah,
So my plan now is I'm going to put all our links here in the comments and update in this video,
great.
so that if people want to check out your page, where to find you and all that, they'll know where to do that. And of course, I'll put the links to our Facebook group, the High Game of Lovers, if you guys want to come and play with us in there.
Yes,
Okay,
play. Awesome.
we'll put all
All
the
right.
links in a couple minutes.
Sounds
Have a
good.
beautiful day. Bye, cutie.
Bye.
Bye, Justin. He's like, Mom, let's go.
Now let's go play.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.